Welcome back. Now time for our Capital Report with Pat McGuigan of CapitalReportOK.com. CapitalBeatOK.com. Sorry, first time, Pat. Let's jump right into this thing here. Last week, Governor Fallon extending Insure Oklahoma. Talk to me about what the response has been about that.
Well, we've touched on this many times. The response has generally been overwhelmingly enthusiastic and positive, including from some of her frequent critics. It's a little bit complex because it's a pure extension of the existing program has been agreed to by the federal government for the largest portion of the Insure Oklahoma population, the working poor, so that they can access the insurance pool. Now, there is concern on the part of analysts like Andrew Sparopoulos, the Oklahoma City University Law School professor, who is always looking out for the free market and for legal provisions. And he's concerned, and I think rightfully so, because people between 100% and 400% of the federal poverty level now become eligible for the ObamaCare style subsidies. And of course, the subsidies will be paid for, as if you ask the questions, it's always confirmed, it'll be paid for by federal debt, at least for the foreseeable future. So it affects 8,000 people who will be shifting to those subsidies. For the other folks, 100% or below, who are working poor, and those are the two key words, that's why it's always been so popular with Oklahomans. It's just helping people who are trying to participate in the system. It's a hidden cost, the subsidies are, so let's stay tuned and see how this plays out 1 year hence when we're looking at, well, does Oklahoma get to continue with its homegrown program, or does it have to simply be absorbed into a full-scale Affordable Care Act?
All right, and you'll keep an eye on that for us, right? All right, let's get into what the Oklahoma Insurance Commissioner said recently. Quote, "Our fears have been confirmed regarding Obamacare." What does he mean by this?
Well, he's taking a lot of criticism, as you might expect, from some advocates of Medicaid expansion and of the Affordable Care Act. But his point is pretty straightforward, and that is that as a result of the beginning of implementation of what is popularly called Obamacare, the rates for individuals who purchase insurance in the market are going up substantially. And that is, as one of his auditors or members of his staff put it, that's no big surprise. That's the exact kind of impact you would expect from imposition of no benefit limits on the companies. They can't limit benefits lifetime or for individual procedures, pass-throughs to the consumers in the forms of taxes and other issues, guaranteed issue. All of that adds up to a net increase in the premiums. Now, the one thing I'll say, and by the way, they were projecting 30 to 100%. One of the counters that critics make is, well, that's not taking into account what we were just talking about, the subsidies. But of course, the subsidies will be paid for with federal debt, at least for the foreseeable future, unless the economy becomes incredibly robust. So you add all that up, the impact of possible state Medicaid expansion is still something that's being debated. And it's important to note that Governor Fallon, although she stood strong against that, she has a number of close allies who are very sympathetic to the Levitt Partners report for a kind of controlled partial expansion. Finally, there are so many moving parts: religious liberty, large employers getting another year, just like Insure Oklahoma did. You add all this up, the navigators, the role of the navigators, which the state insurance department has been concerned about. You add all this up, and I'm telling you, this is a single quote-unquote issue with so many parts being driven in so many different directions that it's impossible to stay on top of it unless it's what you do for a living, and I'm blessed to do that.
All right, I want to squeeze this in. You see it everywhere. Talk about Syria. What do Oklahomans think about this, and what does our delegation in D.C. think about this?
Oklahomans are overwhelmingly against intervention in Syria, and as Representative Tom Cole pointed out the other day, now the polling data in Massachusetts even looks a lot like it does in Oklahoma. There's unanimity in the congressional delegation about being concerned about this, The only possible vote, if there was a vote on intervention, might be Tom Coburn because of sympathy to presidential authority. But for the most part, it reminds me of Ronald Reagan's old Russian expression, trust but verify, a proverb, trust but verify. I've been intrigued to watch the president express repeated concerns about lack of verification in the Russian proposal, and it just brings the past back. First, you have to be strong and firm, and then you can be a reasonable guy in the world.
All righty, Pat, thanks so much for stopping by this morning. If you want to read more about the topics, you can go to capitalbeatok.com. We'll be right back.